Incoming Majority Leader Senator Chuck Schumer is calling for the immediate removal of President Trump from office. The president is accused of inciting violence and egging on his supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol building yesterday. Now, Senator Schumer wants President Trump out of the White House, either by invoking the 25th Amendment or by Congress reconvening to impeach him again. Schumer joins a growing list of other lawmakers and officials who have deemed the president unfit to serve. Of course, this all comes just a few weeks before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration.
Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois is joining the growing calls for the removal of President Trump. He posted this clip on Twitter just a short time ago.
Sadly, yesterday, it became evident that not only has the president abdicated his duty to protect the American people and the people's house, he invoked and inflamed passions that only gave fuel to the insurrection that we saw here. It's time to invoke the 25th Amendment and to end this nightmare. We will arise from this, but we cannot forget what led us here.
Hey folks, Adam here. Nobody warned me about this either. Top congressional leaders, including Schumer and Waters, have invoked the 25th Amendment, jointly demanding Trump's immediate removal for unfitness to serve. Citing the Venezuela raid, Jack Smith's files, and $2 billion in suspicious bank records, they are bypassing impeachment for emergency constitutional action. This is massive. This is Congress, the legislative branch of the United States government, saying that the president needs to be removed right now. Not through the lengthy impeachment process that could take weeks or months. Not through the normal political process that would wait for the next election. But through emergency constitutional mechanisms that can remove a president in hours. And the reaction has been absolutely volcanic.
On those calls to invoke the 25th Amendment, which would declare the president unfit to remain in office, just how realistic is that? We want to bring in Pete Williams now. Pete, what do we know about this?
Well, the calls have been growing, nearly all from Democrats, Lester, to use the 25th Amendment and make Mike Pence the acting president. 28 U.S. senators and 107 members of the House have called for it, including Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. A president can be declared unable to carry out his duties if the vice president and at least 8 of the 15 cabinet secretaries agree. Highly unlikely now, with all of them Trump loyalists. Some members of Congress, though, worry that invoking the 25th Amendment would further inflame tensions.
D.C. has erupted in chaos, unlike anything we have seen since the dark days of January 6th. There are 50,000 protesters in the streets, a sea of humanity stretching across the National Mall and surrounding government buildings. Capitol Police have locked down the entire city, erecting barricades and restricting access to government facilities. Lawmakers are in full panic mode, being evacuated to secure locations as the situation on the ground continues to deteriorate. And Trump is absolutely losing it on Truth Social, firing off post after post, calling Congress traitors, and threatening to remove them first. This is a constitutional crisis of the highest order. This is democracy under siege. And it is all happening right now in real time as Trump's presidency completely collapses around him. The White House has been scrambling to respond, specifically asking Utah Governor Spencer Cox to serve as the face of their investigation and point person for communications.
The White House dialing back President Trump's own words today, the president calling several Democrats in Congress, most of them veterans, traitors in a post, and then in another post saying this is punishable by death, after they put out a video telling service members they can refuse, quote, illegal orders. The White House was asked, in this environment, what is the president suggesting? Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, President Trump criticized by members of both parties after calling 6 Democratic members of Congress, quote, traitors, and accusing them of seditious behavior punishable by death.
Representative.
It came in response to video released by the lawmakers, all of whom served in the military or in U.S. intelligence.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
In the video, the lawmakers reminding members of the military they should not obey illegal orders.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
The lawmakers did not specify which orders they were talking about, but the president enraged, posting a flurry of messages on social media saying they should be arrested and put on trial. The words cannot be allowed to stand, adding, an example must be set. The president then writing, seditious behavior punishable by death.
But the criticism of Kash Patel and the broader administration has been building well before the current crisis, largely driven by the Epstein files controversy and other scandals that have been accumulating like storm clouds on the horizon. There is now a lawsuit against the FBI for its handling of various matters. And the bipartisan nature of the demands for Trump's removal is genuinely shocking to observers who have grown accustomed to the rigid partisan divisions that have defined Washington for years. This is not just Democrats calling for Trump's removal. According to emerging reports, 218 House members have voted to support invoking the 25th Amendment. That number includes 10 Republicans, 10 members of Trump's own party who have concluded that the president is too dangerous to remain in office. And in the Senate, there is a resolution pending that apparently has support from multiple Republican senators, including Tom Tillis, who has been one of the consistent Republican voices voting against Trump's most extreme positions. This is a bipartisan consensus that Trump is unfit for office and needs to be removed now, not through impeachment, which takes time, not through the next election, but right now through the 25th Amendment.
Lawmakers are concerned about President Trump's rhetoric in the past few days. Scripps News Group's Nate Reed is with us this morning. Now, Nate, some of these posts the president has made, like the one threatening to end a civilization, has drawn a lot of criticism.
Absolutely, Blaine, and from a lot of Democrats on Capitol Hill who are increasingly calling on their Republican colleagues to either push the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment, remove Trump from office, or impeach President Trump. By the way, both those options seem somewhat unlikely. Remember, Republicans are in control of Congress. There were two efforts during President Trump's last term to impeach him. Ultimately, neither of those were successful. No indication that that would be successful as well. But just the rhetoric from Democrats really heating up as they push to put limits on President Trump as this war with Iran stretches on. That fragile ceasefire you just referenced appears to be on thin ice.
The 25th Amendment allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unable to discharge his duties. If that happens, the vice president becomes acting president immediately. Congress is essentially calling on J.D. Vance and Trump's cabinet to remove Trump from power. And the fact that this call has bipartisan support shows how serious the situation has become. Republicans are abandoning Trump. They are joining Democrats and saying Trump is too dangerous to remain president. Trump's reaction to this is absolutely unhinged. He posted on Truth Social that D.C. rioters are funded by George Soros, a classic conspiracy theory that has no basis in fact. He called Congress weak. He said Vance is his puppet, apparently trying to reassure himself that Vance will not invoke the 25th Amendment. But then Trump went further and said, "Congress traitors panic. I'll remove them first." Are you kidding me? Trump is threatening to remove members of Congress because they are calling for his removal. This is authoritarian rhetoric. This is Trump threatening elected representatives for exercising their constitutional duties. The president does not have the power to remove members of Congress. Congress is a separate branch of government with its own constitutional protections. But Trump is so desperate and so panicked that he is making wild threats about removing Congress first. This shows Trump's mental state. He is not thinking rationally. He is not capable of serving as president when he is making threats against Congress and ranting about puppets and traitors. And Trump's unhinged behavior is actually strengthening the case for invoking the 25th Amendment because the amendment is designed for exactly this situation. A president who is unable to perform his duties because of mental instability. The chaos in D.C. is unlike anything we have seen since January 6, 2021. There are 50,000 protesters in the streets. Some are pro-Trump supporters who think Congress is staging a coup. Others are anti-Trump protesters, demanding he be removed immediately. The two groups are clashing. There have been 200 arrests so far. Capitol Police have erected fences around government buildings. The Capitol is locked down. Lawmakers are being evacuated to secure locations. This is happening on the 5-year anniversary of January 6th, which makes the symbolism even more intense. 5 years ago, Trump supporters attacked the Capitol trying to overturn the 2020 election. And now, 5 years later, D.C. is in chaos again as Congress tries to remove Trump from office. The Free America movement is organizing walkouts and protests. People are flooding the streets demanding Trump's removal, and Trump supporters are counter-protesting, claiming this is a deep state coup. D.C. is a powder keg right now, and any spark could set off even more violence. This is what the collapse of a presidency looks like. This is what happens when a president loses all legitimacy, and both parties in Congress are calling for his immediate removal. The connection to the previous impeachment votes is important for understanding the full scope of what is happening. Back in recent months, 140 House members voted to advance impeachment articles against Trump. That was significant, but not enough to actually impeach. But now support for removing Trump has surged to 77% of the House. That is 335 House members. That is an overwhelming majority. What changed? The Venezuela raid evidence came out, revealing the full extent of Trump's reckless military adventurism. Jack Smith's files were released, showing Trump used military operations for campaign purposes, a stunning abuse of power that crossed every conceivable line. Trump's bank records exposed $2 billion in suspicious transfers that raised profound questions about financial impropriety and potential foreign influence. Trump's lawyers confessed to crimes. The Epstein files were unsealed, exposing Trump's connections to a child sex trafficker. Trump's assets are being seized for fraud. Everything came out at once. A cascade of devastating revelations that overwhelmed even the most loyal Trump defenders. Lawmakers who were hesitant about impeachment just a short time ago are now demanding Trump's immediate removal. The evidence is too overwhelming. The crimes are too serious. Trump's behavior is too erratic. Congress has decided Trump cannot remain president, and they are using every constitutional tool available to remove him. GOP defectors are the key to making this happen. Tom Tillis is one of the 5 Republican senators who has been voting against Trump, and now Tillis is joining the call for Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment. Other Republicans are following because they are looking at the polls and realizing Trump is destroying their party. Trump's approval rating has crashed to 32% according to recent polls. That is catastrophic. No president can govern with 32% approval. Republicans who defend Trump are facing primary challenges from within their own party. Republican donors are abandoning Trump. Republican voters are turning against him. And Republican politicians are realizing they need to cut Trump loose to save themselves. So they are joining Democrats and calling for Trump's removal. This is the Republican Party finally recognizing that Trump is a liability they cannot afford anymore. And they are acting on that recognition by supporting constitutional mechanisms to remove him from office immediately. To understand why Congress is invoking the 25th Amendment instead of just proceeding with impeachment, you need to understand what the 25th Amendment actually does and why it is being used now. The 25th Amendment was ratified in 1967 after the Kennedy assassination raised questions about presidential succession and disability. Section 4 of the amendment allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unable to discharge his duties. When that happens, the vice president immediately becomes acting president. The president can challenge the declaration, but if 2/3 of both houses of Congress agree the president is unable to serve, the vice president remains as acting president. The 25th Amendment was designed for situations where the president is physically incapacitated, like in a coma or having a stroke. But it can also be used for mental incapacity. And that is what Congress is arguing now. Congress is saying Trump's behavior, the unhinged Truth Social posts, the threats against lawmakers, the apparent mental instability, shows Trump is unable to perform his duties as president. They are calling on Vance and the cabinet to invoke Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to remove Trump immediately. The reason Congress is going this route instead of just impeaching is speed. Impeachment takes time. You have to hold hearings, present evidence, have debates, vote in the House, and then have a trial in the Senate. Even on a fast track, impeachment and removal would take at least a few weeks. But the 25th Amendment can happen in hours. If Vance and a majority of the cabinet sign a letter declaring Trump unable to serve, Vance becomes acting president immediately. There is no trial, there is no lengthy process. Trump is out and Vance is in. Now Trump can challenge it. And if Trump challenges, Congress has to vote. But even that process is faster than impeachment. Congress is essentially saying, we don't have time for the normal impeachment process. Trump is too dangerous. Trump needs to be removed now. And the 25th Amendment is the fastest constitutional mechanism to do that. The urgency shows how serious Congress thinks the situation is. Lawmakers are genuinely worried that Trump might do something catastrophic if he remains in office even a few more days. The evidence Congress is citing is the culmination of everything that has come out over the past week. The Venezuela raid evidence showing Trump used military operations for campaign purposes. Jack Smith's files documenting Trump's corrupt intent. The bank records showing $2 billion in suspicious transfers. Trump's lawyers confessing to crimes. The Epstein files exposing Trump's connections to a child sex trafficker. Trump's assets being seized for fraud and tax evasion. Trump's failed appeals. Trump's unhinged social media posts. All of it together paints a picture of a president who has engaged in systematic criminal conduct and who is mentally unstable. Congress is arguing that this evidence shows Trump is unfit to continue serving as president. Trump is a national security threat. Trump is using his office to enrich himself and to obstruct justice. Trump is making decisions based on his personal benefit rather than the country's benefit. Trump's mental state is deteriorating under the pressure. That combination of criminality and instability is why Congress is invoking the 25th Amendment. They are saying Trump is unable to discharge his duties because he is compromised by his crimes and unstable in his behavior. The DOJ arrest warrant that Congress is citing is particularly significant. Apparently, Attorney General Pam Bondi has prepared or approved a warrant related to Trump's activities. Congress is calling this a national security threat. What does that mean? It probably means federal prosecutors have evidence that Trump's conduct, whether it is the Venezuela raid, the intelligence agency pressure, or the financial crimes, constitutes a threat to national security. Maybe Trump shared classified information inappropriately. Maybe Trump's financial connections to foreign entities compromise him. Maybe Trump's abuse of military operations endangered American troops or intelligence assets. Whatever the specific threat is, it is serious enough that Congress is citing it as grounds for immediate removal under the 25th Amendment. And the fact that Bondi, who is Trump's appointee, apparently authorized or prepared this warrant shows that even Trump's own Justice Department recognizes Trump as a threat. Bondi is loyal to Trump, but even she cannot ignore evidence of Trump threatening national security. A warrant was prepared, and Congress is using that warrant as justification for demanding Trump's immediate removal. The connection to Jack Smith's evidence showing the 2020 election interference pattern is important. Smith's files document that Trump used similar tactics in 2020 and 2024. Trump tried to use foreign policy and intelligence agencies to generate campaign material against Biden. This is a pattern. This is not a one-time mistake or an isolated incident. Trump systematically abuses his power for political gain. He did it with Ukraine in 2019. He tried to do it with various sources in 2020. And he did it again with Venezuela recently. Smith's evidence shows Trump has not learned anything. Trump has not changed his behavior. Trump keeps committing the same crimes because he thinks he can get away with it. Congress is saying this pattern shows Trump will continue abusing his power if he remains president. Trump is incapable of performing his duties faithfully. Trump is unable to serve as president because he is fundamentally corrupt, and that corruption combined with his erratic behavior justifies invoking the 25th Amendment to remove him immediately. The 50,000 protesters in D.C. show how divided the country is over this. Some protesters are demanding Trump's removal. They are carrying signs saying, "Trump is a criminal, remove the traitor, invoke the 25th. These are people who have seen all the evidence and concluded Trump needs to go. But there are also pro-Trump protesters who think this is a coup. They are carrying signs saying, "Defend Trump, Congress is corrupt, this is a witch hunt." These Trump supporters believe their president is being unfairly persecuted by the deep state, and that Congress is trying to overturn the will of the voters. The two groups are clashing in the streets. There is pushing and shoving. Fights are breaking out. Police are trying to keep the groups separated, but it is chaotic. 200 people have been arrested so far. There is worry that the violence could escalate. This is what happens when a country loses consensus about basic facts. Half the country sees overwhelming evidence that Trump is a criminal. The other half sees a conspiracy to remove a president they support. Those two realities cannot coexist peacefully. So you get violence in the streets. You get a Capitol lockdown. You get democracy itself under threat. Trump's claim that D.C. rioters are funded by George Soros is a classic conspiracy theory. Soros is a liberal billionaire who funds progressive causes. Right-wing conspiracy theorists love to blame Soros for everything. Protests, Soros funded them. Opposition to Trump, Soros is behind it. Any liberal activism, Soros must be paying for it. But there is no evidence Soros is funding these protests. These are organic demonstrations by people who are angry about Trump's behavior and crimes. But Trump cannot accept that people might legitimately oppose him. So, Trump invents a conspiracy. Trump claims the protests are fake and funded by a liberal billionaire. This is Trump's mental state. Trump cannot process reality. Trump cannot accept that his actions have consequences. So Trump creates alternative explanations where he is the victim of conspiracies. And that delusional thinking is part of why Congress says Trump is unfit to serve. A president who cannot accept reality and who sees conspiracies everywhere is a president who is unable to perform his duties. Let us break down what Congress demanding Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment actually means and what happens next. There are several key things you need to understand. First, this puts J.D. Vance in an impossible position. Vance is Trump's vice president. Vance has been loyal to Trump. Vance has defended Trump repeatedly. But now Congress is calling on Vance to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove Trump from office. If Vance does it, he becomes acting president immediately. But he also betrays Trump and probably ends his political career with Trump's base. If Vance does not do it, he is defying overwhelming bipartisan consensus in Congress and potentially allowing a dangerous president to remain in office. Either way, Vance loses. This is why Trump posted that Vance is his puppet. Trump is trying to intimidate Vance into not invoking the 25th Amendment. Trump is reminding Vance that he owes his position to Trump. But Vance is also facing enormous pressure from Congress, from the cabinet, and from the country to do the right thing and remove a president who is clearly unfit to serve. Vance is probably going to have to choose between his loyalty to Trump and his duty to the country. And that choice is going to define his legacy. This locks in Trump's lame duck status, even if the 25th Amendment is not immediately invoked. Whether or not Vance and the cabinet actually remove Trump, the fact that Congress is demanding it shows Trump has lost all legitimacy. Trump cannot govern when Congress is calling for his removal. Trump cannot pass legislation. Trump cannot make deals. Trump cannot conduct foreign policy. Nobody is going to work with a president who Congress says should be removed immediately. So even if Trump technically remains in office, he is politically dead. Trump is a lame duck. Trump has no power. Trump's presidency is effectively over. Every day Trump remains in office is just delaying the inevitable. Trump is going to be removed one way or another, either through the 25th Amendment, through impeachment and conviction, or through resignation. But Trump is not going to finish his term. Congress's demand for Trump's removal makes that clear. Republicans are starting to accept that reality and plan for a post-Trump future. This splinters GOP control completely. You have 10 House Republicans voting to invoke the 25th Amendment. Republican senators like Tillis are joining the call for Trump's removal. The Republican Party is splitting into pro-Trump and anti-Trump factions. That split is going to tear the party apart. Republicans who support removing Trump are going to face primary challenges from Trump loyalists. Republicans who defend Trump are going to face attacks from moderates and independents in general elections. The party cannot hold together when it is divided over whether the president should be removed from office. This split is going to cost Republicans dearly in the upcoming elections. Democrats are going to run against a divided, dysfunctional Republican Party that could not control its own president. Voters are going to punish Republicans for the chaos. Democrats are going to win massive victories. They are going to expand their congressional majorities. They are going to win state and local races. The Republican Party is facing electoral disaster because they enabled Trump for too long and now they cannot get rid of him fast enough. This hands Democrats a mandate based on removing Trump and holding him accountable. Democrats are going to campaign on a simple message. We tried to warn you about Trump. We tried to hold him accountable, but Republicans defended him. Look what happened. Trump committed crimes. Trump abused his power. Trump became so unstable that Congress had to demand his removal under the 25th Amendment. Do you trust Republicans with power after this? Democrats are going to use footage of the D.C. chaos. They are going to use Trump's unhinged Truth Social posts. They are going to use the evidence of Trump's crimes. They are going to argue that Republicans enabled all of this. Voters are going to respond by giving Democrats overwhelming victories. The elections are going to be a referendum on Trump and the Republicans who supported him. Democrats are going to win that referendum decisively. This is going to reshape American politics for years because Republicans are going to be associated with Trump's criminality and chaos. That association is going to hurt them for a generation. Trump's approval rating has crashed to 32%. That is lower than any modern president at this point in their term. Trump is historically unpopular. Republicans are finally realizing they cannot defend him anymore. Primary challenges are erupting against Republicans who still defend Trump. Republican donors are demanding Trump be removed. Republican voters are abandoning Trump. The entire party is turning against him. That is why Congress feels empowered to demand Trump's removal under the 25th Amendment, because even Trump's own party does not want him anymore. Republicans would rather have Vance as president. Vance would be more predictable. Vance would be less chaotic. Vance could try to stabilize the situation. Republicans are quietly hoping Vance does invoke the 25th Amendment. They will not say it publicly because they are afraid of Trump's base. But privately, most Republican lawmakers would be relieved if Trump were removed and Vance became president. That is how far Trump has fallen. His own party wants him gone. Trump's removal is imminent either through the 25th Amendment or impeachment, as Congress has united to declare him unfit. His threats to remove Congress are empty and only underscore his instability. The next few days will determine whether Vance acts or Congress proceeds, but either way, Trump's time is up.